It always makes my heart sing to breathe new life into a beautiful old spinning wheel. Spinning wheels are so much more than dusty old tools. They often had a prominent place in a family's living space and were essential to one of women's largest ongoing tasks, making the many textiles necessary for clothing the family and maintaining the home. Used for hours at a time, spinning wheels were designed to be both beautiful and practical, and although they were often made in small commercial workshops, men would sometimes make fascinating and inspired spinning wheels for the women they loved. This means that sometimes I find ones with, unconventional solutions to the mechanical challenges of spinning wheel design. This spinning wheel was made by a man for his wife in the village of Padise in North Estonia. I obtained it from his grandson in Haapsalu. I have never seen a design like it. As is common in the region, Estonian spinning wheels typically have leather hinges on the treadle and leather bearings for the flyer. There is no leather on this wheel, other than a shim that my partner made to align the wheel axle and stop it from rubbing on one upright. Unusually, there's a lot of iron. Instead of just making it so that the spinner's side maiden can turn to release the flyer from a leather bearing, the maker designed a tight-fitting iron bearing with a sort of leaf spring construction set into the maiden. A little button on the back of the maiden pushes the spring outward and releases the flyer. The wheel axle does not sit in slots in the uprights like it normally would. Instead, it rides in metal brackets that screw to their tops. These brackets and the flyer bearings have little oil ports built in for lubricating the moving parts. The crank screws onto the axle instead of being a solid part of it. I thought this would allow me to take the bracket off for cleaning and oiling, but it does not come off. Perhaps it did originally, but the threads are very shallow and could be stripped easily, so I was not willing to force it. The treadle is a different construction from a standard Estonian spinning wheel treadle, not just because of the use of iron instead of leather hinges, but also because the maker used a mortise and tenon joint that is extremely strong and precise. This is a common technique used for building traditional farm chairs in the region, but treadles are not usually made that way. It's beautiful work. This spinning wheel did not have a heavy layer of dust and grime, so I decided to oil it directly instead of raising the grain by washing it with water. I use a pre-mixed product that contains only raw linseed oil and beeswax without solvents. It works pretty well on the iron parts as well as the wood, and it's non-toxic. I applied it to the entire spinning wheel and let it sit overnight. The next day, I used a knitted woolen swatch to rub the entire surface and make it shine. This gives the wood a protective coating that is easy to dust and repels water. I love this process. I learned so much more about a spinning wheel by carefully handling each part than I would by just looking at it or even when I use it to spin. When I disassemble and reassemble it, I learn how the parts fit together. By turning them upside down and considering them from different angles, I see the parts not as the spinner typically does, but as the maker did when he was making and assembling them. I also get a sense of the life of the spinner through the marks she left on the spinning wheel. When I started to work on the flyer, I noticed deep grooves. Paired with the tiny orifice, this indicates that the spinning wheel was used for spinning flax, which is a very strong fiber and cuts into wood and metal. Wool can do that too over time, so it was only a guess. However, when I took the spinning wheel apart, I found big chunks of flax lint in the workings, so it looks like my guess was right. She may have also used wool on the same spinning wheel, but we know that making linen thread was at least a big part of her work. Another clue to her handwork is the crank. Because it is screwed onto a threaded axle, the wheel can only go in one direction without unscrewing the crank while you spin. Since it has to go in the opposite direction to make applied yarn, this indicates that the spinner only made singles. Linen singles were traditionally used for weaving and for making sewing thread in Estonia. With this wheel, it would be possible to spin woolen singles for weaving woolen or half-woolen fabrics with linen warp threads as well. Although the wheel is beautifully engineered, there is one place where I can see that the maker probably was not a professional spinning wheel builder: the wheel rim. The drive wheels of other Estonian spinning wheels appear to have been turned on the lathe to ensure a deep, smooth groove for the drive band. I do not know for sure, but it looks to me like they did a finishing pass to make the groove after assembly, since the lines are usually perfectly even. This one did not get that finishing pass on the lathe, so the joints are uneven and the wheel rim is not quite deep enough. Like many old wheels, this one is warped over time. This isn't a problem with other Estonian wheels because the rim is usually very wide and the groove is deep, more so than old spinning wheels I've encountered from other regions. It is a problem with this wheel, and it throws the drive band if I don't tighten it enough. Luckily, it works fine with a relatively tight drive band, so this won't be too much of a problem for spinning. At some point, I may have to try to straighten the wheel, but it'll work for now. When I picked up this spinning wheel 2 days ago, the moving parts could hardly turn. Now she spins almost silently. She's so smooth and fast. I can imagine the moment when the maker presented her to his wife, looking much like this, glowing with oil and fragrant with the scent of freshly turned wood. This beauty from Padise has taught me so much and broadened my sense of what was possible in the design and construction of spinning wheels in Estonia. Makers used the skills and materials they had to satisfy the same mechanical needs in different ways, and making a spinning wheel for your beloved could be an opportunity for creative design. The oil stains and marks of wear on this spinning wheel show that, despite the limitation of only being able to spin in one direction, the spinner and the wheel had a long and productive life together. Now she's ready to once again take up her place in the home as a glowing figure of beauty and care, and a nimble and skilled partner in the creative process of spinning.